강대 셀외주 에세오셀 속초 주트로페노 주길라페 닥바랍겸 인수전기 조배진파 분숨 소파르그규 랍자겜센체나니 니네 다단카나 마게센체나 데네기시 잔추님포바 라마 쪽라 순학갑수드로 나모 구루베 나모 부다야 나모 dharmaya namo sangaya namo guruve namo buddhaya namo dharmaya namo sangaya namo guruve namo buddhaya namo dharmaya namo sangaya ma sensen chungi dongi chi dani lama la gyune sense tanche lama la i gopang chola goparja ma sensen chungi kungi dongi chi dani lama la gyune sense tanche lama la i gopang chola goparja ma sensen chungi dongi chi dani lama la gyune sense tanche lama la i gopang chola goparja ma sensen tanche dongi i sedi la storia lagu wardu me sangi lama gopano dugi ma sense tanche dune de chen sangi chila sola goparja chin dulam sabo lama lai gyur sa Samsung la gyur gyo better. Scusa, questo non è pulito. Ahum, omahum, omahum. Noe se la nana padre dangjo selso deso sonam pelajo Tsongkhapa cho ildu tetongi yeseka pachinke Pesam dang bar mang nam kha kyong tham yo kyong su kya pe chin ma nang sangwa cho tin nam cho ji ye chen sik sam gi mi kha pe gangwa gi wa gangwa gi de to yer me lama yang pa kun san tro tin truk pe tu Loma metrok drabu yongse, dog yu dang se jorpe se, dona barwe rin centrice, Chokyi ne dange petek, kadrin sumden se awe lama sangi kungi no nampar nyume chimpe gelo, chelsiti Dum katro che cho che yon pe namsa tu siga welung sena gur sum dang de cho gu sum sol se do pe uso che tu kar kya do je chang sel chi ki goni do ji sune ne chu ma Tenki de ton rolpege, amarin sen gyagi techi, adi masi chumdo 생기 겐데 오세 동바 야소냐 노kor웨유 돌제 길투 시기 수페 붐보다 나데시나 감시 용시 계제 사규 디남잔수 셈포뉴 바푸드라 종이트루 지동양타 trowe wangponi ose jokyo no ji sangwa jikten sapkide takor kyusing no gyu lama idam kyul kor sodang sangi jansim pao kadro ten sungya sokornesu de dago sum dorje sum 우미요 세쟁기 당인해내 에세바나 제당 헬메 템파규 운소델레 주네 두승귀 사규라마 이담 본순상 따오 가드로 조경승석제 tukje changi di ding parsu chonam rang sindro kunro ya ne so dolje sampaji sindu jiryang charwe kese tinle che kya gondam pa horje seksu so Om Guru Buddha Bodhisattva Dhamma Palasa Parivara Ehi Jam Hum Bam Ho Ese Panam Dam Sine Padisi Me Pargyur Gangi Gangi Tungje Dewa Jempo Ying Kusum Bangcho Kyang Ke Chigla Dose lama rinsen tabuku doje sa sampar mo chakselo rabjam gyalwe kungi veseni gangdul chiryang charwe thapke chok nime jimpe pargina rolwa kyabgon tampe sabla chakselo Ni tung bak cho che pedru chung sing Pak me yon ten rin ten so ki te Pende malu jung we go chik pu Je sun la me sabla chak se lo Le chen tempe sangi kungi ngo Gya tri si tung tam cho jung we ne Pakso kungi une lang ne wa Dricen lama nam la chak te lo Du sum chok chul su pe lama dang Rin cheng cho sum che wa tan che la De jing po ta wang ya sor che Jing tu nyan pi lu tru chak sel so Gyab gonje sulama korche la na so tin gya so bulwani kolerin sen obarnu wangle dagje du si chuji del gibak dong po sil sa tem pao pa sempe ma sana di so Di sing po ki du pe budure ya ke nu pe tringe la lam trik ne da nor bura da nor beso ton su mun se o so so gago gabur sen den gurgum tringom pe ucho so chen kori kung ne ki Rogi chuden sajang tung wadang la dami isel selung porno na sorol me jedra ele zungwa dan igurwe sum sumpo na sorol jedra ele zungwe nan wase sum sunge judre driro regje pel jimpe tinang do yo lamo chokum kya
sa shi pe ki chu shi me to ra re ra ling shi ni de yen pa di sang ge shin to mi te ul wargi drokun nam da shin che par sho che wa tra ge lin she lum pro che rin chen dun da nye we rin chen so kunga gebe me chu pen son so la mi lon cho de ge ter chen ba da we sim ge pul chun shin ge cho kya kun tu che chen la ul war gi ye dam guru ratna mandra la kham ni rya ta ya mi Masha yidro yishin gyatso ngo sishin namkara leo chun sengi Dado gebe kunge yidro shin chikden chikden lede rashin Gosong gewe meto chiyan tra kunsan chebe driso bumdroy Lapso rimni lange rinde pe gatsen chitsun lama nichi Kurkon damde samba tringe che roge pe zenge che tuan Chakyu nga dan rupa nga las Chandun parve ditse gyatso chu Yuwa latso palzin tru chunshi Debe gyutse lage lutra ma Shinge nga gel hinge ponyet Tetu gyume chagyan nangya bu Trimdel hinge dewe yeshech Chagu ranshin tondan rewe yin Yerme lundru masam jolede Denda jancho simcho kyolabu Nyamu shigya tsashi niljurp Tambo mingi chedra na tsodan Kyuni gichir dadrin bila Namkara jisim baso sondo So tome dune mige dikbele Gidan gitze yiran chichi pa Tuje chenre chengara gyesim Chashi linche mige domba nu Chona ranshin tsema dan reyan Milam chishin keba tamchegi Dega chiryan charwe namkara la Daja samba tabe irang Pulchon kinze chunzen bumrete Taye drodi bende kundet Kedan yundu nedan bevech Sabge choge charba avtus Darje kula keche mingayan Soncho wange gyabo samato Dacha meba jishin site bara Nyange mida tabra Namkara gewe so Kadrin sumden jetsu lama Sera kundu dreme jetsenchi Soncho dorje changwa topchi Yende anjune tsurin gyazo che Mondo norbu tsoge yonsu tam Orme zimba tungwa nipe che Neden duwa zinla sowa de Kandan dena devra shekpe lam Tumbra webe yenden chuden Malu gelwe dusen choki che Tekcho gewe shela sowa de Gosum ledam loche sodenra Yodan gyume ngadan gyusheshi Teni chusun ridan chekepe Dorje zimbe tsola sowa Sangye changme jumbe madulwe Maron duge nikdu drowa Deshe lamsan chishin tumpayi Kyabgon tuje chenla sowa Tuge nubgyurute Gongya mebe drowa mangbola Gyawe zeba nyevra druzepe Kyabgon tuje chenla sowa
Dusum chochu gelwa tamche la
Gangi babu buka chitsaya Daja sanam shindu lenga pe Kyabkon tuje chenla sowa de kusung genge korlo nye tabge gyuru drawe choge le tame tsuge drawa rinsepe kyabkun tuje chela sawat Yalana deshe ringa yavyun sempa dan trove wambo rashi chosum Dani lama chola sowa de kungye yeshe reba lechung Kingo korlo chewe dani de rige kyabda dorje zimbe so sumchu tambu gunla sowa de Time linge gawe reba da yerme tenyo kungya kungye Toma tadre kunsan tendangi Kyola sowa de Kyoni lama kyoni yidan kyoni kandro che kyonte Tene sonte chanchu pardo Kyomi kyashe mi solwe Didan pardo chi me tarya Son sola Si shi ji zhu ngon zhu kun Tengi zhu zo pa chu sung Kyoni lama kyoni yidan Kyoni kandro che kyonte Tene sun te chan chu par Kyomi kyashe mi solwe Didan pardo chi me tari Tu che cha gyu son sola Si shi chi krul mo tru kun Tengi tro zo pa cho son Kyoni lama kyoni yedam Kyoni kandro che kyonte Tene son te chancho pardu
Kyomi kyashel mi solme Didang bar chi me tarya Tuje chak yu sung sola Si si jikro no dru kunso Tengi drog so
Bachos Dedarlen son so wata petu La me kuso Togi ne namle Du tsive ser karmara tinka som Rim dan chik char chung ne danigi Ne son rim dan chik char timpale Drip shi tak chin nam da wan shi top Ku shi top chin lama ni ba shik Ye shin tim pe jingi la para kyu Omo a guru vajradara sumati muni shasane karma uta vardani shri bhadra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum Om guru vajradara sumati muni shasane karma uta vardani shri bhadra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Muni Shasane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsamanya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Muni Shasane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsamanya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Muni Shasane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsamanya Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Muni Shasane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsamanya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Muni Shasane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsamanya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Sumama Guru Vajradhara Sumati Gyana Shasana Dara Samudra Shri Bhadra Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Gyana Shasana Dara Samudra Shri Bhadra Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Gyana Shasana Dara Samudra Shri Bhadra Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Gyana Shasana Dara Samudra Shri Bhadra Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Gyana Shasana Dara Samudra Shri Bhadra Sarva Siddhi Guru Vajradhara Sumati Gyana Shasana Dara Samudra Shri Bhadra Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Gana Shasanat Samudra Shri Bhadra Sarva Siddhi Om Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Kirti Siddhi 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 Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha 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 Om A Vajradhara Hum Hum 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 Om A Vajradhara Hum Om A Vajradhara Hum Om A Vajradhara Hum Omo ahum, 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 omo ahum. Omo ahum, omo ahum, omo ahum, omo ahum, omo ahum, omo ahum. Verse 84, verso 84. Shincho tamba jetsun lama la chechen kube sowa tabet ile tsawa gombo kenyi geshin jesu tsimbra jingil lenche tsamshi nyebe del churadi nyega nyurdu jibe tsudon tome tsedi chawe miye wara tende nimbo lembra jingil Nine kunjo sumla kemdroshi Tikbo ngetso tada drupa la Sumba lulen chebra jingil Dunge sumge chuse mambets Tame jiron sitso chembole Tardo shudrak Sota sora dawa korwa di gawa salta tangwa lopane Lapsung pampan mapan jungte tarbe Gyaltsen japa jingilo Natha drawa dikundunga ima yangang turki kaka tujune Tugi mule sewa ma shindu chumi ninche kyora jingilo Dune trame same angmido ching Dei namyan chose me pani Dadan se la kewa yunu se Senja jawa jipa jingilo Di midon da du ke pa jingone Lelen de ke kondu sung jan te De jun de se chang pa jingilo Mana che sing de la go pe lo Tape yun ten jang wa jingone Derwe di da da gi der lang kyang Solwa che pa jo pa jingilo Dona ji pa rang dong ko da da To bang se dan ba shin jung pa yi Kyoga yunten eye tokpe lo Dakshi name jopa jingilo Rani chijin gupe kengi go Manam chajin yunten kungi si Dechi dakshe jewa nilzor le Adepa lengi pa jingilo
Lama tukje chen magyu drove didi dugne kun malu data dagla mi pa dan dagi dege sengla tangwa yi dodon de dan de pa jingi lo dena jesu lama tukje chen magyu drove didi dugne kun malu data dagla mi pa dan dagi dege sengla tangwa yi dodon de dan de pa jingi lo Dena jachun lama tukje chen magyu dobe didi dune malu data dagla mi padang dagi tege sengla tangwai todan de dan do pa jingi lo do cho chimpe drupe yugang te mitro dune chaja pap yurki kangi lamdu lo pa jingi lo dona sana nangwa chi sangyang choku nipe tokni namlengi Janchu Sani Pelwana Pite Ide Besin do Pa Jingilo Dona Jisan Dampe Tapke Ki Tele Gante Dupa Chorwada Rojo Dancing La Jenam Lengi Neljo Do Chenja Pa Jingilo Tole Lunke Kepa Tung Chen Sampa Ninge Tape Sampai Dosan Tisho Chela Drove Chi Janchu Sempe Ningwa Jingilo Dosung gelwa gungi drochin lan anden gase dompe gidansi Peche chultrin sungi namela sopa jopa pa jingilo Lulang lo chungu sunga soje semchen rani dodo nengyolte Changme togne sempe hamen hi jimpa jopa jingilo Chota janse nyana dompa yi jesung sagi Gacho dudung
Simje Tundra Be Chudrin Panchen Sobra Chingilo
Tatsun Kugu Garu Tugyu Te Sising Sangdu Dising Socho Kyang Mitru Nolam Pempe Drape Pe Jopa 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 Jingilo Chiriame Paya Ije Mikyo Janchu Chunchen Pe Chudun Chuchin Jopa Jingilo Jugi name pena pena chodun depa lungwa melungla Jechi napa jopa jingilo Tange pachin jopa jingilo Deni soso takpe serapi Daba sintu janche daglaywa Dedem nama Serapa chin jopa jingilo China chochung gula milam da Dapa sodan jochung jishindu Nyangya dope me phe chung ne gyal me chung ji jo pa jingi lo phara dan sin du che me pa da gil ke tren de lua me pa ni ge su chi pa yi lu dru go gon to pa jingi lo dena da jo pa ding gi trine ge de jo pa chung gel te anu sama da sin to pa nam sola che pa jo pa jingi lo Keshi bardu gelwe kusundu garwe rimpa dampa nel jurgi Tane nesen dima kunjente gangla jangku chapa jingilo Ninga dagi duti udaktu gokyo sapsen kopale jungwe Wase gelsun juna pelam super
Mundu Gyurwa Chingilo Lamna Masen Chewe Tuche Na Tsengda Tsangya Lame Powani Tonga Yandan Charwe Damhagi Shindu Drabra Chingilo
Dena gesing
Kewa Tamche Tu Gombo Kege Drame Jesone Kusun Toge Sanwa Kunzembe Sege Tora Gyurwa Chingilo Tongyo Kando Ngompra Sangye Pe Korge Toma Nido Tagirate Neka Tartu Gode Malupa Beme Lunge Drube Trashitso Sangye Cheda Tsoge Chanamla Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapso Che Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonamgi Drola Pinchire Sangye Drubarasho Sangye Cheda Tsoge Chanamla Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapso Che Dagi Chishe Gibe Sonamgi Drola Pinchire Sangye Drubarasho Sangye Chodan Tsogi Chonamla Dancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Chishe Gibe Sonamgi Drola Pinchire Sangye Druparashon. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge unto enlightenment through the practice of generosity and the other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Good morning. So today is, we can say, the last day of this course, of this period of teachings and practice of 10 days. And I had not programmed from which point of the text up to which part of the text we should have reached. We were just following it naturally. And it's actually quite nice that the first time that we were going through this text of Lama Tsongkhapa, and which was last summer, we went from the question number 1 up to question number 27, which regarded precisely the part on behavior. So which means the whole part which regarded renunciation, which means love towards oneself, then the bodhicitta, love towards others, and the whole part on karma, and so on. Then this time, we started on the part of meditation, and we should finish it today. And then on the next time, we will start from the part which regards the correct view of reality. So somehow we can exactly divide it precisely. The text itself is divided into 3 main chapters, so it was not done with this intention, but it couldn't be better that on the 3 times we have divided it precisely on the 3 parts. Okay. So today I would like to do a little bit different than I have done these other days. Instead of making an introduction in the beginning, we'll do a conclusion in the end. So we go directly to the text. So in order for us, otherwise I don't want to reach our time, that is time for lunch, and we have not finished the part of the text that we need to reach. So I prefer just to go through the text, and then after we make a conclusion in the end. Okay? So we go to the text, and we are finishing the part which regards concentration and meditation, basically. And we were in question number 39, I suppose. Right? Okay. Let me get it first in Tibetan. Yang jogom chedu semdi mikpa chigla takne jogam mijo. Mijonani di jogme gi jogom te chitra chik ongba yin. Dacha jogom chebetse mikten lani sem takne sechi jokpar döba la shenda mikpa kanla yang di jo migo rangi sem trowa kagne tsene jo tetar jokpe jogom ser. Okay, simple question. Also, when doing the stabilizing meditation, does one have to bind the mind to one object of meditation and to place the mind on it or not? If the mind is to be placed, what kind of stabilizing meditation is it if the mind is not stabilized on it? So the question is, once again, we are here because there is a wrong type of meditation, which is like basically saying that we can meditate without having an object of meditation. And if we try to meditate without having an object of meditation, this is not meditation, this is just relaxing the mind. Whenever there is meditation, one of the requirements for meditation is there must be an object of meditation. And this makes me remember there is a doctor in Brazil, very nice man, and he made research on meditation. So he went to learn, like, I think 150 different types of meditation. And he tried to find a definition of meditation. He made a very nice definition of meditation. So he went through that, he studied all the different types of meditation, and he went there, he did all, he experienced himself all the time. He also self-healing he was doing. So he went through all different methods and so on. And finally, he made one definition, which I don't remember precisely, but it fits very well to all different forms of meditation. It's really very nice. And one of the points of the definition is that meditation must have what he called an anchor, which actually is or what we call here an object of meditation. It's something which is self-induced, cannot be done by someone else towards us. And the mind must have an object of meditation. One of the parts of his definition, which he found in all different traditions, is that meditation must have an object of meditation. So it's like, one time we had a friend, and he organized a guided meditation and so on. And there was many people in the United States. And then there was one monk, he was a little bit upset, saying, "Oh, this is not meditation." Then the other guy actually got quite upset, saying, "Okay, how come this is not meditation?" And then the monk was explaining, because you have no object of meditation, this is just relaxing the mind. And this is actually an important point, which Lama Tsongkhapa is bringing again to us. When we talk about meditation, it means we must have one object of meditation, and it means to focus our mind on that object of meditation. We can do two types of meditation, analytical meditation or single-pointed meditation, which is called stabilizing meditation in this case. So, if we do single-pointed stabilizing meditation or analytical meditation, in both cases, there must be one object that we find, we look at it, and then we stabilize our mind in it, as it's said here. Also, when doing the stabilizing meditation, does one have to bind the mind to one object of meditation and to place the mind on it or not? Yes, the answer is yes. Why Lama Tsongkhapa put the question? Because there have been people, and even up to today, it's actually quite common to think, okay, we can meditate just by abstracting the mind, distracting the mind of any object. And this is not correct. So the answer comes and says, when sitting ourselves in stabilizing meditation, we bind our mind to the supporting object of meditation, and it is asserted that our mind is single-pointed placed on it. So when making stabilizing meditation, first we find the supporting object. The supporting objects we call it in Tibetan mikten. Ten means like something that is the basis, is the support. So what is the basis for our meditation, our object of meditation? That's why it's called a supporting object, in which our meditation is based. It's like if we have an argument, what's the supporting object of the argument that we are having, of the discussion that we are having? There is something of what we are talking. There must be a subject, there must be something of which we are talking. Similar to that, if we are meditating, we must be meditating on something. We cannot just simply meditate on nothing, just enter into this sort of neutral state of non-thought. That's not the point. The point is like there must be an object of meditation. Our object of meditation can even be a single black dot in the wall. But that's my object of meditation. There is something that I am perceiving, and then I am concentrating my mind single-pointed on it. So as it says, when sitting ourselves in stabilizing meditation, we bind our mind to the supporting object of meditation, and it is asserted that our mind is single-pointedly placed on it. Then we should just keep our mind focused on that object. The mind should not be placed on any other object. It is stabilized in a suspended manner. It is stabilized in a suspended manner by stopping it from wandering. It is called stabilizing meditation because of being stabilized in such way. So, we should be not, when it's like you hear this word suspended, means we should focus our mind at one object and not let it wander around to other things. That's why it's called the stabilizing meditation, okay? But it's stabilizing on what? On one object of meditation. It's not just like stabilizing meditation means just stay there, relax, enter into this sort of meditative state. This is something that has been happening sometimes that people think that meditation is more like the meditative state. So it's given more importance to the actual meditative state than the actual object of meditation. You know? Like very often we see people talking about meditation, which is already a very good step actually. But we give more importance very often to the actual meditative state than the object of meditation. Like, okay, you can use any object of meditation. It really doesn't matter. What is the object of meditation that you are meditating in? The important thing is to meditate. Okay, that's a good beginning. But still, the fact is that in the beginning, just to meditate on whatever object of meditation, it helps us at least to bring the mind more to the present moment. It helps us to get more familiarized to meditate itself. But depend on what we want to familiarize our mind, no? I can meditate on my object of anger. So I'm just there remembering how that person is terrible, and then I single pointed my mind on it. And I remain on that object of anger. Finally, I'm familiarizing myself with more anger. And I can even meditate on that, actually. I can meditate on so many things. But the important thing is that what do I want to familiarize myself with? That is the object of meditation that I will choose. So, not only in meditation we need to have an object of meditation, but the object of meditation is essentially important for the meditation itself. Because when we are in the very beginning, where we're in a state which most of us are, also because Buddhism in the West is just like, for me, it's just like a small baby learning to walk. We're in the very, very, very beginning, so it's quite normal that we talk about the very first steps of meditation. We are still on that part. No? Then we have very, very high-level practices that we do without understanding so much very often, which is also good that is there. You know, there is the danger also if we only keep the very basic practices because we say, oh, that's all that we know. We are not able, we don't understand so well the rest, so let's just do what we are able to understand. Then there's the dangers that in 1-2 generations we simply lose completely all the other practices also. So it's important also that we keep also the more advanced types of meditation, even though we don't understand them so well. But then slowly we will be able to understand and actually to have to keep them alive also. Otherwise it can happen that after 1-2 generations we have the tendency to simplify things too much. And then what happens is that after some years we don't have anymore the transmission, we don't have the continuity of it, we don't know that even it exists so well. And then after some time there we are only breathing, which is okay in a way, but is lacking a lot of parts also. So what I want to say is that yes, we need to practice in accordance to our ability, but this doesn't mean that we cannot start by having an approach to get introduced at least to other different practices of meditation. Okay? But it is important to understand that in the beginning we learned to meditate. And when we start learning to meditate, we use very, very simple objects of meditation, such as our breath, such as an external object that we can see. Okay, we can focus our mind on a tree, we can focus our mind on whatever object we have in front of us, or on our own breath, or some part of the body, we can focus on different objects. But at that point, we are mainly learning how to meditate. We are developing a tool. Once we have developed that tool, then we need to focus on specific objects of meditation. We need to use it because it's a very, very powerful tool. Then we need to use it to familiarize our mind with specific objects. It's not just a matter of entering into the meditative state. Okay? And this is something that I have seen quite often nowadays. People having this, this understanding, which is, okay, the important thing is just to enter into the meditative state. In one way, it is like, it is really not so nice, so good, because we tend to simplify too much meditation and it becomes just the meditative state itself. It becomes somehow a final goal and not a tool, the meditation itself. On the other side, it's wonderful because we are in the very beginning in the West, so we need to learn it, we need to start at somewhere, no? So I think it's also very good. I have nothing against all the different methods and the different, activities that are there to develop meditation. Like, for example, we have nowadays applications in the telephone to meditate, and we have so many things. And I went to some of this just to try to understand and to see. And I looked at them and I was saying, okay, but it's like, they're nice, but very, 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 very basic, which is okay, which is good in a way. The important thing is that we need to understand that meditation is not only that. This is just teaching us to meditate. Then after, we need to use meditation to do many other things. It's like teaching us how to read and write. Once we learn how to read and write, then we can write beautiful stories, and we can write poems, and we can read beautiful books and philosophy and many other things. But once we learn the alphabet and how to put the letters together, that's not all. That's just the beginning, no? So learning to meditate is the beginning. It's not the actual end of it. So this is important for us to have this understanding here in question 39. It is actually putting quite clear when it says, okay, when we do stabilizing meditation, do we need or we don't need to have an object? Yes, we do need to have an object. In the moment that it's called the supporting object, and meditation by itself, even the word in Tibetan, meditate, to meditate, is actually the same word as to say to familiarize. Gom. It's actually the word meditation means familiarizing. When we say to have meditated, we say to have familiarized. So this is basically, so normally we only use the word like I have meditated in Tibetan, like in the past tense in this way, only when you have completely concluded the process of familiarizing the mind with that object. It's not a matter I stay 1 hour in meditation, I have concluded my meditation, and no, I'm still familiarizing my mind with it, so I'm still meditating on that object. You say I have completed my meditation when you don't have any more to sit down and to familiarize your mind with that state of consciousness or with that concept, because it already comes naturally and spontaneously. We have already familiarized. It's like in the Lamso Namsum, the 3 main aspects of the path. By having familiarized the mind with these points, kom is the same word as gom, but for the past tense. So the point is that the word meditation itself means to familiarize, means to train. And we need to familiarize the mind with something. This is very important. So once we learn the technique of familiarizing, then it comes the next step, which say, okay, with what do I want to familiarize my mind? Okay, and then here we have many different methods, both in Sutra and Tantra inside Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism. So we have, within the Sutra, we have the whole process of Lojong and Lamrim, which it's so beautiful. The Lojong meditations, the mind training meditations to eliminate selfishness, such as Tonglen, taking and giving. And then we have meditations on the whole process of the gradual path to enlightenment of the Lamrim. I was thinking, actually, there is one text I would like, I'm quite sure there should be a translation of this already. If not, we can make one. It's called Lamrim Marchi. Lamrim Marchi is one text on the gradual path to enlightenment, in which there is quite briefly the explanation of every step, and then the guided meditation there, like a meditation inside of it. It was written, if I'm not wrong, by Panchen Yeshe, one of the Panchen Lamas. And Marchi, it means, Chi means like the teachings, which means the guiding. Mar means the raw. So the raw guiding on Lamrim, like not too many explanations, just going directly to the points. I received these teachings in Tibet some years ago, and it's very, very extremely well structured, every step that we need to meditate on, and very well done. So it's very interesting that what I have seen these days by listening to questions and seeing as we go through the importance of meditation, people start to get the interest of, okay, then now what are the steps of meditation? And that's actually very good. That's exactly the right process. Once we understand the importance of meditation, we need to understand, okay, what are the steps that I need to meditate on? And here we come to the importance of Lamrim. Lamrim is not a text to learn. Lamrim is a text to meditate today. Lamrim is a text that we learn in order to meditate on this process. It's a process of meditation, most of all. Okay? So, going back to the question, the point is very clear. When we talk about stabilizing meditation, there must be an object of meditation. It's just not the simple fact of abstracting our mind. Okay? So, actually, as we were seeing here, meditation is not one point of arrival. It's a point of departure. It's like learning how to read and write. Once we learn how to read and write, then we have a whole world in front of us of things that we can read and write. It's like not because I can read a gossip magazine and I can read a beautiful philosophy text, and it's not the same. Oh, but yes, but you are reading in both cases. An important thing is just to read. That's not exactly true. If you read the good things, it's good. If you read the bad things, it's not so good. So the point is like meditation, let's say it's like reading. It's not the important thing is on what do we meditate once we learn how to meditate. But first we need to learn how to meditate. Okay? So learning how to meditate is a starting point. It's not an ending point. It's not an arrival. It's a departure. Once we learn how to meditate, then we have a whole world in front of us and of opportunities and things that we can do. That we learn really the power of our own mind and what we can really do with it. It's like incredible. So then we will go through it. Then we have a whole world in front of us of opportunities, okay? So this is important but all of this comes to what? To the object of meditation, that after we'll just familiarize our mind with them. So first we just start by learning how to meditate, and then after, once we have learned how to meditate, then we will use it in many, many different ways to familiarize our mind with many objects that are there. Okay? So this is basically the process of it. So now we go to the last question of this time. Yeah. No, there is this Lamrim book which I would like to get translated. It's called Lamrim Marche, which is like the raw instructions on the gradual path, which basically is one book which, if I am not wrong, was written by Panchen and is basically giving the very specific explanations of every step on the path to enlightenment. And then after, there is a sort of guided meditation on each one of the steps. It's really very nice. I studied this book in Tibetan. I have never seen this book in English. We can look if it's a very well-known book on Lamrim, so most probably there is a translation. I have never seen it, but if not, we can put on our list of things to translate also. Anyhow, there is the last text we have been making the translation of, which I hope can be finished soon. It's a very important text on Lamrim also, very simple one, and by Paponka Rinpoche. Anyhow, now we don't go to that direction. Come back to the text. Okay. Question number 40, which is the last question of this season. Let's put like this. Okay. Of this winter time, and then next time we will go through, because we actually will do like more or less half of question number 40, because question number 40, half of it's a statement regarding meditation, and then the actual question regards already the correct view of reality. Okay. So we'll go a little bit through it. I will not go through the whole question number 40. Otherwise, we enter into a door that now we just look a little bit inside, but we don't go into it. Because if we go into it, then there is a lot to be seen. So I prefer not to start. I prefer to conclude well the part on meditation before entering the whole part on the correct view of reality. Okay? So, it's a conclusion of the part regarding meditation. Önte mikpa dila jok mi jokis sem koran kanto yang chor mi jukpar chene jokpe na jokom serwa in nyamna nis mikpa kaya sem ngona kerkyu mebe sem hedewa tendra jokom yangda tu kangne she dini nyene nindu gyuba imbe nas dögyo ki pangsha kyang mi che töba yang mi go diga rang kyang pe tartu drubo nyamnanis kaya yila ma chebar hete deba rangi tusum chikchartu kembe kunge tobon na leki koboni tete gomte hashangi gomlo le kebar tene ma chetos önte hashangi lodan kebar shintu chete hashani jinsoki gewa kun la kyöntu tashin ngeni gewa kun la yönten tawe so nyamna dine tagom la ke midukpe mebe lentos dile tagom la ke midukpe mebe lentos choba la ke yoto she mawa yintes dini perna don karna tribetse shanan cheche lende badan traos önkan ngegi gomdi kaya yila mi cheba ma인gi chagya chimbo yila cheba os nyamnas ke döbe chagya chimbo te ludrugi tagomdan tümbar duka mi do siglas mi tümbani kila senge yin shebadan kebar chidux tünani ludrugi tagom lani te kösa takche tuma shorwas shik göbes kandra shila sem shena kandra shigla sem shagnas taktar drovos kandra shilas shagna cheta gomdu drova yin lekbar sungshins tende namye chebo Moshe gi nge rangi diga la onwa yodo nyamnanis kösa shorwada ma shorwe ne ma shebanis ke rangi tade gom teyang ma shorwar gyumse yangda la temba toba ter ma sonwes nge ba tingne drongshin lo ta chobe gomdu lomyas ter ma sonwa möne tsamtu sonwa gombar jöchik vente yoba la tenas taktar dros meba la tena chetar dros te nigar tawadam tele shendo tawayang tartar drove na mute shidang chalwes tatsu te ludrugi tagom yin nyamnanis mikpa kerkyo kanyame semte hete watelas jokpa chake chembodang nyene nyingyu yimba sok döba jokte tuksewe lungre lamle changbayins galshi chebe zenamla tamche kemba teteshin salwa leshin kungenyang lengi ulna data chis. Okay. So 40. And it says, if somebody taught, however, the mind does have to be stabilized. However, the mind does not have to be stabilized on the object of meditation. It is called stabilizing meditation because the mind does not let itself wander anywhere and is stabilized in a suspended manner. How can such a blank mind, which does not have anything to deal with, within its perspective, be explained as a right stabilizing meditation? I think it's quite clear, no? So some people still say, no, actually meditation doesn't need to have an object of meditation. Just keep the mind without wandering around in a sort of levitated, suspended state. That's actually meditation. And then Lama Tsongkhapa say, how can this blank state of mind have anything to do with actually putting the mind, familiarizing the mind with the right perspective, and being this a stabilizing meditation. So some people, an hypothetical disputant, kachik, actually, in all these texts, when in Tibetan it said kachik, kachik means someone, okay, kak means like type, chik means one, someone, say this. Normally, all these kachik, all these someones was really someone, were not really hypothetical, but they would not put the name. Like when we have in, actually, all the philosophical texts, they are structured like the most classical philosophical texts. They are structured mainly, not all of them, but many of them, they are structured into 3 parts, which is Ran lo shakpa, shen lo gakpa, telat sopaponga, which means showing one's own point of view, explaining the wrong point of view, and going against and discussing about and showing why that point of view is wrong. So normally it would go like this. First I would say, what is meditation? Then I would come and I would say what other people say about meditation that is wrong. Then I will explain why this is wrong. Okay, this is the way how it's structured normally. And if we take many of the texts of Lama Tsongkhapa and other great masters, when we do like a deeper studies on the text of Lama Tsongkhapa, you have the different kachik, which the different points of view, which looks like hypothetical. Here he's saying hypothetical, but most of them were not hypothetical. They were like really things. So we go to study, who was this point of view? Oh, this was the tradition, that and that master that used to say this and that text. So, and then there he was saying, okay, but some say like this, without saying the name, because it may be a little bit offensive in some cases. So he's not saying who is saying that. He's just saying some people say like this. To those that say this, I have this answer. Okay, it's not exactly going and saying, oh, you were the one that is saying, not to enter in any personal level. We are discussing about the object, which is what is meditation. We are not have nothing personal against anyone. Okay? Yeah, has been said by someone. So I am just, so here we say, one of hypothetical disputant, someone thinks. This stabilizing meditation is transmitted from ear to ear, so from master to disciple. Therefore, it is not to be left behind, even with the witness of or excuse of sutra and tantra, which means even if this type of meditation is not explained in any of the original teachings of Buddha, but it has been transmitted for me from my master and to his master, to him from his master, so it's something that we must follow. Also, one also does not require hearing teachings for this. With the stabilizing meditation alone, one will accomplish the absolute realization of emptiness, which means you don't even need to receive teachings. It is something that, even though it's not in the original teachings of Buddha, it has been transmitted to me by my master and to him by his master, so it's fine. And it's even such a wonderful teaching that you even don't need to study much. You don't even need to study anything. You just need to totally relax your mind, empty it from any thought, and it will all be successful. You will reach the highest of realizations. Some people say like this. So, in that case, Lama Tsongkhapa would answer, it is great if one can attain the omniscient state which realizes the 3 times simultaneously just by sitting in a blank state, without attending to anything mentally. I myself would absolutely not differentiate that kind of meditation from Hashan's mode of meditation. Hashan modes of meditating, Hashan was in the 11th century, I suppose. Now, I'm not really sure. When was Kamalashila? I think 8th century, maybe a little bit before that. It was before Atisha. So at that time in Tibet, there was this master which was known nowadays as Hashan. And he had this idea that all that you needed to do is abstract your mind from any thoughts, like eliminate any thoughts from your mind, put your mind in the empty state. And he was a little bit extreme, like
He was saying it's not important to accumulate merits, it's not important to generate generosity or to keep a good morality. All you need to do is just live in this totally empty state of nothingness. So at that time, there was this other master called Kamala Shila, and they entered into an official debate requested by the king. Kamala Shila won the debate. That time he wrote also the 3 stages of meditation, his 3 texts which explain very well the whole aspects of Buddhism and meditation itself, as an answer to make things clear. And then Hashan was exiled from Tibet. And he ended up, finally he was given the choice, or you stop giving this type of teachings because they are not coherent, or you go out of Tibet. So he went out of Tibet, and he went to China, where he founded his own tradition in China later, and so on. So what he's saying here is that, look, once you say this, that meditation, you don't need an object of meditation, and all you need to do is abstract your mind from anything. Actually, what's the difference between your meditation and the one of Hashan? And then the hypothetical answer for that would be, however, there is a big difference between the Hashan's mode of meditation and ours mode of meditation. Because Hashan views all virtues, such as those of the 6 perfections, as a fault, whereas we consider all virtues as excellent qualities. So, Lama Tsongkhapa said, look, in the moment that you say that you don't need an object of meditation to meditate, and the true meditation is just to have to empty the mind, what's the difference between your form of meditation and that of the Hashan? And for that, you answer me saying, oh, there is a big difference between me and the Hashan, because the Hashans, they used to see all virtues, such as practicing the 6 perfections, as a fault, like generosity and morality and patience and effort. They used to see all this as a fault. And I see it actually as a quality. So there is a big difference between me and the Hashan. So the Lama Tsongkhapa answered back again. Say, that is a statement for affirming that the meditation on the view and conduct are different. As an answer to somebody who says there is no difference between the view and meditation. There is, for example, when somebody is asked if his face is white or black, he answers regarding the size of his bottom, which is completely different from the question at hand. So, very simple. If I ask, is your face white or black? And then you answer, okay, my bottom is big or small. I'm not questioning about the bottom, I'm questioning about the face. So the question is, I am saying that your way of meditating is similar to that of the Hashan. I'm not questioning about the part of behavior, which means conduct, which is the part of the 6 perfections and so on. I know that you have a different view that the Hashans about the conduct, but I'm talking about specifically meditation. So if you answer me back, talking me about conduct when I ask you about meditation, it's like talking me about your button when I ask you about your face. You know? This is like, and actually, I have never seen in any other text Lama Tsongkhapa do this type of examples and being so direct in this way. That's why even some scholars later, they thought this was not a text of Lama Tsongkhapa, because normally all the other texts is so eloquent and at the same time so very classical and respectful and incredible language he's using, beautiful. And in this text, but I believe mainly because this was a text intended for a very large public, like for anyone, he was very direct and he used very simple language. Okay, this is one example of it. So, and then from that, there is another hypothetical answer that comes again and says, however, this meditation that I'm talking about here does not really consist of not reflecting on anything mentally. I do reflect on Mahamudra. So I'm not talking about emptying the mind completely and not having anything in mind. I'm talking about having the Mahamudra. And once again here, Lama Tsongkhapa wants to make it clear, because they say, we use beautiful words, but what do you really mean by it? When you say Mahamudra, which is, Maha means great, Mudra means seal, the great seal, what do you mean by that? It's the name given to one of the highest forms of meditation. But what do you actually mean by Mahamudra? And then here we will start actually entering the part of the view. Okay? So, let's say the answer was given. check if the Mahamudra, then Lama Tsongkhapa is answering, check if the Mahamudra that you are accepting is concordant with the view and meditation taught by the Savior Nagarjuna. And if it's not accordant, what difference is there from labeling a dog as a lion? Okay, because this is something we have in some text, which is Pramana, which is talking about view and so on, logics. There's a whole part when we talk about logics and dialects, in which there is given the example that when you give a name to something, there are different ways of naming something. There is a way when you give a name to something because that object has all the characteristics that the name represent, and you can sometimes name something because that object has some aspect which is similar to the one that you refer. It's similar when you take a dog and you call the dog lion, because maybe the dog has a lot of hair, or maybe because we simply like to call him lion, but it has some aspect which may be similar to a lion, so we call the dog lion. But the fact that I call a dog lion, does that make the dog a lion? No. So if you talk about Mahamudra, that your meditation is Mahamudra, but actually it's not coherent, it's not concordant with the teachings of Nagarjuna on the correct view of reality, then your meditation called Mahamudra is just like a dog which is called a lion. It's not a real lion, so that's not the real Mahamudra. So, if it is concordant with them, then should not be any error of failing into the extremes of eternalism and nihilism. The correct way of meditating is not going into the extreme of eternalism and extreme of nihilism. So, therefore, say very clearly what one places the mind on for it to become a meditation on eternalism, and what the mind is placed on for it to become a meditation on nihilism. Then again the hypothetical answer, which says, oh, I do not know that kind of distinction. I myself am present with it. So which means I'm not making distinction between going to eternalism or going to nihilism. I'm just present in the present moment. I'm just present within it. The fact of not knowing if you are going astray or not is also because the meditation that you are doing is not directed by gaining a stability that is based upon an unmistaken, correct reason. So the reason why you don't know is because your meditation is not based on an unmistaken, correct reasoning. You really don't understand really what you are meditating about. Therefore, although you feel proud of doing a meditation, thinking that you have induced a deep assertment on that and that your mind is decisively sure about it, think that you are not effectively in the direction and that is rather just a belief. You believe you are meditating on the ultimate nature of reality, but even you don't know what the ultimate nature of reality is. So you are not doing it, even though you believe you are. So the final thought by Lama Tsongkhapa put, viewing existence becomes eternalism. Viewing non-existence becomes nihilism. Viewing both becomes the view of both. And viewing things other than them becomes a view of extreme. Therefore, the mode of viewing things free from those four alternatives is the view of meditation of Nagarjuna. Okay? And then after it will come the whole part which will start actually understanding what is this view that it's not falling into the extreme of eternalism and the extreme of nihilism. Okay? And just to read the answer which goes to this part, it says, there is nothing to take from the object of meditation to those who express their assertions of the placement of mind on a total blankness as Mahamudra. So there is nothing to take from the object of meditation to those who express their assertion of placement of mind of total blankness as Mahamudra. So total blankness is not really Mahamudra at all. And that, it being an ear-whispered lineage and so on. and who pass over analysis by quoting scriptural authority and logic out of mercy, I venerate. And who pass over analysis by quoting scriptural authority and logic out of mercy, I venerate. If even those who know all can be poor in answering, what can somebody like me do? Basically, the point here is saying that, first of all, we're entering into a difficult part, which is the correct view of reality. That's not at all an easy subject. To answer this part, which Lama Tsongkhapa just said, okay, explain me how not to go into the extreme of nihilism and eternalism, and what is the extreme of nihilism and what is the extreme of eternalism, is not easy at all. Really, to be precise on it is not something simple. To be a little bit more general is quite simple. Maybe if we have time, I will go a little bit into that. But really, to be precise on it, it's something quite subtle, very, very subtle, actually. So it's not simple at all. That's why also Panchen also Gyaltsen say, who am I really to answer this so clearly? Great grace masters had not so much easiness to explain about that, so it's not so simple for me. But one thing for sure, just putting the mind in a total empty state is not meditation on Mahamudra. It's not meditation on the ultimate meaning. Okay? Yes? Gomdi kanya ilami cheba. Mangi chaga chimbu ila nyombara 1 second. Mitumba dina kila sangadana ma shorwa. Kandra shila semshana tartadro kana Dindra namye cheba mishekis ngerangi dida namye cheba mishekis ngerangi dika la onwa yoto nyamnanis dika la onwa. He's saying, I don't know how to make this type of distinctions, this kind of distinctions. I am just remaining on that state. I am just remaining present with it. I'm just remaining at my point of view. I just remain at my own point of view, even though I don't know this type of distinction. Because this means like, okay, you're explaining me many things, whatever you say, I don't understand the distinctions that you ask, but I just remain at my point of view. Yeah. When it says in English, one thing of translation, sorry. Scusate un attimo solo che ho visto una cosa della traduzione. When it talks about the perfections and the hashan. Where are we? When it says, Hashan views all the virtues such as the 6 perfections, that's not really correct. Which says the Hashan sees all virtues such as generosity. Because the 6 perfections, the view is already, the point of discussion is the meditation, the view. So here as it says, no? Kaya kebar macheba tuksum gi kemaya. Kobo teta hashangi gomle kebar teneme but onte hashangi loda kebar shintu chete hashani jinsok gewak generosity and so on. It said that's why it was put perfections, because generosity and so on normally used to say perfections. But actually it's precise is to say the Hashan view virtue as a fault, like generosity, virtue such as generosity and so on as a fault. Okay. No, they just see, the Hashan would see the simple fact you don't need to practice generosity, you don't need to do all of this, just empty your mind, that's all you need to do. Ok, continuo col tibetano. Hashan e jinso ge gewa kun la kyon ta shins. Ngeni gewa kun la yonte tawe. So nyamna ni tagom la ke miduk che mawe lento choba la ke yoto she mawa yimba yintes teni pena don karna tibet se shala cheju ge lento debadan trawos. Wenkans negi gomdi kaya yila mi chebar ma ingis chagya chimbo yila cheo yila cheba os nyamnas nge döbe chagya chembote ludrugi tagomdan tumbara dugam miduk siklas mi tumba teni kila senge yin sheba dang kebar chidu. Tunani ludrugi tagom lani te koesa takche tu ma shorwa shik goba yobes. Kandra shila semshana taktar dro kandra shila shana chetar gomdo drowa yimbe lekbar songshi. Tenre namye cheba mishegis nge rangi diga la onsa yodo nyamnanis. Kosa shor ma shorwes ne ma shebarnis. Kerangi tade gomteyang manorwara gyumse yang dagbala temba toba terma songes. Ngeba tingne dronshi lo tak chube gomdu lomba yang terma songis Mene samtu songwa gombar zöchi. Wente yoba la tene taktar dro, meba la tene chetar dro, te nigar tawadang, tele shentu tawayang, tartara drowe na, mu te shidan talwe, tatsu te ludrugi tagum yin nyamna nis, mikpa kergyo kanyame, semte hete watela jokpa chagya chimbodang nyene ningyu yimba so döbe jöte tuksewe lungri lamle changpa yins galshing chebar zebala tamche kemba tete shin salwa leshin kunge kyang lengi ulna da te chis. I make a direct translation without looking at the original translation of the answer. Mikpa kierkyo kayame. There is none of these objects that we should take on. Semte heto watela, the state, keeping the mind in a total empty state. Saying jokpa, chagya chimbodang. Jokpa means stabilizing meditation, mahamudra, and Nyene Nyingyo Gyubayin, and saying that this state of emptying the mind, calling it stabilizing meditation, calling it Mahamudra, or saying that this is a lineage that comes from year to year, and so on. So referring to all of those that was said before. Döpa jöte tuksewe, to those that actually accept and say that the emptying the mind, it is actually stabilizing meditation, Mahamudra, and a lineage coming from year to year. To those that say this, with great compassion, what I do with great compassion? With great compassion, lungrik lamle trangpayi, galshin, lungrik lamle drangpayi, galshin chebar zepa namla, tamche kempa tete shing salwa les. So, with great compassion, with logics and scriptural reference, it is shown that this is contradictory. So it's analyzing, showing that this attitude is actually wrong and contradictory. Galshin chebar zeba namlas, tamche kempa tete shing. So those that out of great compassion, such as Lama Tsongkhapa, referring to Lama Tsongkhapa actually, using logics and referring to the texts of Buddha and so on, with that you analyze and show that it's contradictory, these points of view, just as Buddha himself did. Salwa leshe kungenkyang lengi ulna dartechi, making it clear. So if the all-knowing one, referring to Lama Tsongkhapa, already made these points clear, who am I now to give an answer to that? Okay? So basically, what Panchen Rinpoche is answering here is saying, the way the object of meditation and the fact that emptying the mind of any object of meditation, it is actually called stabilizing meditation, it is Mahamudra, it is an ear-whispered lineage, and so on. Those that accept this, to those that accept this and say so, out of great compassion, you, Lama Tsongkhapa, you have shown that they are wrong through scriptural references and through logics and reasoning. So, just as in accordance to the teachings of Buddha, you did it. So once you, the knowing one, Lama Tsongkhapa, you already gave such answer and make it clear. Who am I to make it clear once again? Okay, you already gave the answer. So basically what he's saying is that, Lama Tsongkhapa, in your questions, you already gave the answer. So who am I to give an answer about it? You already showed and explained that it was wrong. So who am I actually to explain and say that it was wrong? Okay? Now just remembering, as I was reading, it came to my mind that we have here in Gompa the representation of Lama Tsongkhapa on my right side, there. And then we have on my left side, on the other side, where we have on the heating, there are three main masters. The one in the middle, that's Panchen, Losang, Chokyi, Gyaltsen. Okay? Okay. So here we get to the point of the text actually, in which Lama Tsongkhapa makes very nice transaction, because first he explained what is meditation, the importance of meditation, how to meditate, the importance of not going into, not entering into the state of completely emptying the mind, the fact that we always need an object of meditation, analytical meditation, single-pointed meditation. He's explaining the difference between calm abiding and profound view, and it went through all of this. So first the text went through the whole explanation of what is meditation. And we got to the final point, which is you must have an object of meditation. So now, as we must have an object of meditation, what shall be our ultimate object of meditation? Then the next part of the text, which Lama Tsongkhapa already started to introduce here, is the actual object of meditation. So the object of discussion anymore is not actual meditation, it's the object of meditation. And what is the ultimate object of meditation? The correct view of reality. Because the root of our suffering is the wrong view of reality, is ignorance. That we relate to reality in an incoherent way for what actually reality is. Okay? So in order for us to relate to reality in a coherent way, we must familiarize our mind with a coherent view. But first we must generate this view, which is the correct view of reality, which do not go into the extreme of nihilism or the extreme of eternalism. I will just make very, very brief explanation of externalism and nihilism, okay? Actually, to go on details about this, it's something that takes time, it's long, and it shouldn't be done with hurry. Otherwise, we can get it even wrong. Basically, like even in the monasteries, like, okay, there we have a very specific way of studying, which it's very, very in details, and it's done in a way so you don't forget the meaning and so on. But like in a monastery like Sera, when people study about the correct view of reality, like there is one main text that we study. It's called Umagompa Rapsal, which is the clearing the veil on the middle way, which basically a text written by Lama Tsongkhapa. Then we study commentaries on the text of Lama Tsongkhapa also. But basically I studied mainly the text of Lama Tsongkhapa, which itself is a commentary on the text of Chandrakirti. There is a commentary of the text of Nagarjuna. There is a commentary of the Sutra of Perfection of Wisdom of Buddha. Basically, we have all these levels of commentaries because when we go to the original text, it's so difficult to understand. Because so much concepts and so many ideas concentrated in few words. And many of us really, if you take the original text, like the Sutra of Perfection of Wisdom, it's so difficult to understand. Then you take the original text of Nagarjuna, still very difficult. And then you go on, then all the masters at the time went on through the centuries, they were making more and more clear. No? Like one time I wanted to study one of these original texts, I wanted to memorize it, and my teacher told me, okay, if you memorize it's wonderful, but I think your teeth are not strong enough to bite this food. You will break your teeth, he was saying this to me. So it's like, the fact is like, some texts, they are really difficult because the people at the time, they had more understanding about some subject, so they could explain with few words. Like, For example, when we learn one of these old texts that we still studied, is one of the commentaries of the Sutra of Buddha on the gradual path called the Abhisamaya Alankara, just the first line, which is the praise, it takes almost a year to study. Because we say, Niente shiwatsanam kun shenigi nyer shichize kanyen tan rola pembar chenam lan shenigi jinde tundo zemba kan kanda yanda den betuna nambar kun de nazo de sumba tenye chanchu sempe tsoja sange gini yum tela chalselo. And is why it takes so long, because, for example, even the prayer that we always do in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge into enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. To really understand well this verse, how long will it take? First, I need to understand what is Buddha, what is Dharma, what is the Sangha. I need to understand what is enlightenment. I need to understand how I have the potential to reach enlightenment. I need to understand what is accumulation of merit, what is perfection, what is the six perfections such as generosity, and so on. So it actually takes quite a long time to understand all these things clearly. No? That's why we study for so long. But like this text very often have so much content like condensed. So when we study for the perfection of wisdom, we study the commentary of the commentary of the commentary, so it becomes much more clear. But the point that I want to bring is that normally it takes like more or less 4 years of study to do the study on the correct view of reality. And 4 years means like 11 months a year. 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, more or less. 10 hours, 12 hours a day of study. So it's not like, okay, it takes 4 years making one weekend every month. No, it's like full-time study. And also because maybe if you just read the book, you can finish quite fast. But we are not talking about reading, we are talking about deeply studying and understanding, which is a complete different thing, no? Sometimes we take one page of the book and we would stay studying that page for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, debating on it and trying to understand it and getting the meaning of it. We'll stay maybe 2-3 weeks on one page. So that's why it takes actually so long. And even after that, like one friend of mine, when he finished all these studies, he said, oh yes, I understood many things, but I think I did not comprehend anything. So it's like sometimes it's difficult, and it's a subject when we talk about the correct view of reality. What is eternalism? What is nihilism? Understanding that we should not go to the extremes of one or the other. That maybe we reach the same explanation like 10, 20, 30 times, even more. And then suddenly, one time you read it and wow, now I got something. It takes time because it's a complete different mode of understanding and seeing reality of the one we are used to. So it's a change of paradigm. And it takes time. It's not obvious at all. No? It's somehow similar to when we go, for example, if we read things on quantum physics. No? Like I was reading some time ago some things, I like these subjects. So I was reading one thing which was about they are developing a quantum computer. Okay? So basically, computers nowadays are based on binary logics. On, off, exist, don't exist, 1, 0, okay? The quantum computer is based on what they call Q bytes, which is quantum bytes, something like this, which basically is not only on and off, it's not only yes and no, exist, don't exist. There's 4 possibilities, which I couldn't understand 3. The 4th, I simply couldn't get it. So the first one, the possibilities are exist, don't exist. The third possibility is exist and don't exist at the same time. And then there is a 4th one which I couldn't get. But even if you try to think, how can it actually exist and not exist at the same time, no? 1 and 0 together. So it's a complete different paradigm. You need to change the basis of understanding in order to understand these things. So when we go to the correct view of reality, it's the same experience. It's like we need really that complete change of paradigm. And it's really wonderful. Once we are able to do it, opens the mind to a whole new world. But it takes time. It's not something obvious. Okay? So I'm not going to enter into that whole part right now. I'm just going to touch a little bit because we touched the text. What is eternalism? What is nihilism? Okay, in a very superficial way, not going into details. So, by eternalism is the view that things exist just as they appear. Which means reality is solid, it's objective. Okay? So, for example, let's take, for instance, some eternalistic views that we have. The materialistic view of Newton, for example, like this. Okay, things are as they show that we can see with our senses. This is how things are. So we have this idea that we are just an observer and then reality is solid outside there. This is an eternalistic view. Okay? It's one extreme. So it's the extreme in which reality is there and it doesn't depend on the observer. It's not interdependent. It's just there. Another eternalistic view is the view where we have the idea that everything is created by one eternal creator, so-called God. Okay, call it as you want, but whenever we have the idea that things are there and I have nothing to do with it, it's because someone made them so. Again, I have a view that something exists totally independently of everything else, of one only main cause, which we can call God, we can call whatever way we want. So this is also an eternalistic view, according to Buddhist view. So we have, normally when we divide the eternalistic views, we divide it into two main categories. We have the materialistic eternalistic view, and let's say the spiritual eternalistic view. We have these two main eternalistic views. One is that it's based on things are just as they appear, we can only believe in what our senses can perceive, and so on, and we have a very solid, objective, external reality. This is very well, actually this is very much the fundamental aspects of a very good part of our culture very often. No? A lot is seen in that way. And then the other side is normally, this is not only the monotheistic views, also in the Hindu, very often there is this idea of a creator of the universe, and everything has been created by someone. So there is this God which creates everything. So I'm not here discussing if it's right or wrong. According to Buddhist philosophy, the idea that there is someone that created everything means that everything exists independently of me. I have nothing to do with it. I am just here to access it, but I have nothing to do with its existence. So things exist by themselves, independently of the observer also. So this is another, and again, one eternalistic view. So these are the two main eternalistic views, okay? But we have an eternalistic view very much deep in ourselves, actually. Whenever we see something and we look at it and we simply see it as if it existed objectively, it has nothing to do with our perception, it's just there. And it exists as it is. This is an eternalistic view. And the most important thing when we talk about this is not to discuss about the philosophies, eternalistic philosophies or not. We need to see how do I perceive phenomena. Am I in an eternalistic extreme or not? This is very important, okay? And it's not, there are two levels, conceptual and spontaneous. How do I perceive reality in a conceptual level? Is it eternalistic or not? How do I perceive reality in a spontaneous level? Is it eternalistic or not? Okay, do I fall into these extremes or not? Most of us, yes. Okay. Then there is the extreme of nihilism. The extreme of nihilism is the other opposite, in which we say nothing exists. Oh, it's all a total illusion. Do whatever you want because nothing exists. There is no good, there is no bad, nothing exists. It's all a dream. I saw people with this idea. It is actually quite disturbing. Because when people develop the point of view of nihilism, that nothing exists, they make no distinction anymore between their own behavior, good or bad. Everything is fine, everything is good because nothing exists. Why are you suffering off? Nothing exists, it doesn't exist. You know? So it is this idea that on the absolute level, nothing exists. It's all the same. Reality does exist. Okay? So we have one extreme, and the extreme of nihilism have also different shades also. It's not like only in one way. For example, one of the nihilistic views is the point of view that when we die, we simply stop existing. This is one nihilistic view also. There is another nihilistic view in which we say that when we die, we melt into one great consciousness. So there is nothing other than one great thing. So this is also, it goes to a nihilistic view also. But most of all, in this case, the nihilistic view is the idea that simply nothing exists. And it's like everything depends on the observer, but which means that nothing actually, there is no external reality. There is only what you see. There is nothing more than that. And there are many, many philosophers that went also into this extreme. There is one famous Chinese philosopher, and he says, I don't know if I am a man dreaming I am a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming I am a man. No? And then this is a very beautiful thought, actually, but then it brings slowly into the view of, okay, reality really don't exist. It's just what I see. For example, one point of view which was passed, and many people said, oh, it's very Buddhist, and I really didn't think like that, because for me it went to an extreme of nihilism, was when the film of Matrix was done. The film of Matrix is showing this idea of reality existing in the mind and being a projection of the mind. But from my own personal point of view, which is my personal perception, it seemed like it's going very much into the extreme of nihilism, saying, okay, nothing exists, everything is just a projection. Which the correct view is like being in between, which external reality does exist, but it does not exist independently of internal reality. And internal reality does exist, but it doesn't exist independently of external reality. Finally, it's all the same. It's all of the same nature, okay? As I said before, this is a very complex subject, and we should have no hurry to find a conclusion. We should give time to reflect upon it and slowly see it and understand it better, okay? But basically, when we talk about the extreme of nihilism and extreme of eternalism, this is what we really mean. Like eternalism is mostly things exist just as they appear. Nihilism is things don't exist at all. It's just a total illusion. Okay? And it's not one or the other. For example, if I come and I touch here, can you listen to the sound? Yes. So, does the sound exist or not? I would say yes. Okay? Now, the way how each one of us perceive the sound, is it same or different? It's different, okay? The point here is not that we have one external reality to which each one of us have a different interpretation. It's a different external reality for each one of us. Okay? Because if we had one external reality of which each one of us had a different interpretation, it would mean it could exist independently of the observer. Okay? Instead, in other words, it's like there is no such a thing as existence, reality, and then infinite interpretations of reality. What exists is an union of infinite individual realities that interact between. Okay? So, it's like if we take the example of the book, once again, and I asked, the other day we were talking about this, and I said, what is this? In other words, what would be the eternalistic view of the book? It is a book because it is a book, and it doesn't matter about what anyone thinks. It is always going to be a book. That's an eternalistic view of the book. What's the nihilistic view of the book? It is nothing. It's just what you think. Okay? So the nihilistic view brings the idea that you can think anything, whatever you think can exist, because everything is just in the mind. So if I think this is a chocolate bar, it will become a chocolate bar. Okay? So what's the main point here? It's like, what is actually finally the book? I'm trying to make it simple, okay? The book is nothing more, nothing less than the name book, which is functions and characteristics that are attributed to a collection of parts. What are the collection of parts? The external reality is the collection of parts. I have cover, I have pages, and so on. I have words. All of this is the collection of parts. This collection of parts can be called in many different ways, and depending the way how I call, depending which are the functions and characteristics that I attribute to it, it has a complete different meaning and function. It exists in a complete different way. This can be a guide to enlightenment, or it can be paper to burn. Okay? It can be complete different meaning. In the same way, it's like when we look to anything, okay, like today, we're going to give later this little present for everyone, which is a very big little present. Okay? And you may look to it, and you may say, oh, what a nice drawing. Beautiful, nice drawing, or ugly drawing, whatever you think, okay? And for someone, it can be that. That's the functions and characteristics that you attribute to it. Can it fulfill the functions and characteristics of being a nice drawing? Yes. Or it can also, can it fulfill the functions and characteristics of being a guide to calm abiding? Yes, a guide to develop calm abiding, because this is a drawing which was made by Trijang Rinpoche, where he describes every step of concentration until we develop perfect meditation. So it only becomes the word Lama, Tsongkhapa, in the moment that I put all this together and I attribute a meaning to it. But it could also be Lamatsongkhapa. Right? What's the difference? In one case, I'm putting the parts together and I'm assigning a meaning to it. In the other words, I'm not just reading the parts separately. Okay? What I want to say is that everything that we perceive do not exist for us, and existence doesn't exist independently of the individual existence of every one of us. But nothing exists for any one of us independently of our own perception. But this doesn't mean that our perception is the only thing that exists, that everything exists only in our perception. Because if I think this is a chocolate bar, I can believe deeply that it's chocolate, and I can try to eat it. It will not fulfill the functions and the characteristics that I apply to it. So I can believe that it's positive, but it's a wrong perception. Why? Because it cannot sustain. Because it's generating suffering. Okay? Then we can enter into, if we go into more details, we can say, okay, but if something generates suffering in a short term, but it generates benefit in a middle long term, it's positive. Okay? If there is any action, any choice that will generate, say, some suffering in a short term, let's say physiotherapy. It's painful in a short term, but it brings benefit in a middle long term, so it's positive. Anything that it brings pleasure and benefit in a short term, but brings harm in a middle long term, it's negative. Okay? So once we have clarity in what means harm and benefit, it means the sensation of joy or suffering, pleasure or suffering, well-being or suffering. So what I want to say by this is that we should be very careful not to enter into the extreme of nihilism where nothing exists, everything depends on what you see and how you see it. There are things that reality does exist. Actions bring results. There is what is positive, there is what is negative, there is right, there is wrong. It's not that everything like this, okay? And this is the danger when we start talking about correct view of reality. There is truly the danger of entering into the extreme of nihilism. And we need to be very careful about that, okay? So, adesso, But it's really, really, for me, I get somehow excited when I start talking about this subject. So I need to be a little bit careful not to go too much into it. But if we just stick to this idea that nothing exists independently of the functions and characteristics that we attribute to it. In other words, what am I? Who is Lama Michel? I am nothing more, nothing less. Lama Michel is nothing more, nothing less that functions and characteristics attributed to a union of parts. What are these union of parts? Body and mind. To this body and mind and attribute, I have functions and I have characteristics, which is my own identity. And the most wonderful thing about this is that if I take this object, okay, and I change the functions and characteristics that I attribute to it, what happens to the object? It changes. And how many are the possibilities of functions and characteristics that this object can actually fulfill? Almost infinite. So how many correct perceptions of the object exist? Infinite wrong perception. Which is the most profit, brings more benefit to you? Because there are many views that are correct. I can see it as an object of anger, and it can function as an object of anger. I can see it as an object of compassion. It functions also as an object of compassion. Which one is of more benefit for me? One will generate frustration, will generate anger, and so on. The other one will generate compassion and acceptance. Which one do I prefer? So, just to conclude, I would like to say that there was one question, which it was about if there is any difference, like to meditate before eating and after eating, if there is any effect. Actually, the body and the mind are fully connected. So, sure, there is a difference to meditate when we are tired or when we are rested, or to meditate when we have eaten or without eating or whatever. Sure, it makes a difference on our meditation. Each one of us have different ways of constituting our bodies. Our bodies are different in many ways. So it's important to check for every one of us, okay, how is for me to meditate before eating, after eating, when I am in the morning, in the evening? We can check for ourselves. No? This remembers me the story of one meditator, and he was never able really to conclude well his meditation and to do it in the right way. So his master told him to try to meditate upside down, which means with the head down and the foot up. And with that, he was able to meditate well, because this was because some of his organ was upside down. I don't know what it was. There is some sickness when actually the people have the inner organs upside down. It exists actually, no? So maybe he had something like this. This was the description that was given. The fact is that the body influences the mind, and the mind influences the body. So, for example, some people, they have much more easiness to meditate when they are with an empty stomach. Other people, when they have empty stomach, their mind is much more agitated. So it's more difficult to meditate. So I know people that before going to a session of meditation, they like to eat a lot. Because normally they have a mind which is very agitated. This brings more stability. Other people, when eating a lot, after they have mental laxity and mental dullness, so they are feeling like sleep. Okay, so it depends on each one of us. So we need to check for ourselves also where we fit better for us to meditate in the morning or in the evening, and so on. Okay, the important thing is that we need to meditate in order to have any result. And I would like very much to thank everyone for coming here these days, for having this opportunity of going together through this beautiful text of Lama Tsongkhapa and Panchen Losang Gyaltsen. I myself have received these teachings in Tibet, but I tell you, for me, I learn much more when I teach than when I study. This for me is very, very clear. So I'm very grateful to all of you that give me this opportunity also. And at the same time, what happened is that Lama Tsongkhapa put so clear to us the importance that there is for us to meditate. And going back to one of the first things we said this time is like, our mind is the most precious resource that we have. And we need to take care of it. Like nowadays, we understand the importance of making physical exercise, no? That's why around our cities, there are all these places where people are running without moving. running still. It's quite crazy, actually, no? Actually, these people in this machine, everybody running without going anywhere. It is a bit strange, actually, no? If we really think about, we are walking in the middle of the street, then suddenly there is this big glass and all the people just running, not going anywhere. For me, it's like a metaphor of the lifestyle that we have very often, that we run, always busy, and we get nowhere, okay? But anyhow, this is something else. But the fact is that we have this, how do you call in English, the gym, no? Now it's very normal to go to the gym. Why? Because we understand that to have a healthy body, I need to train the body to be healthy. It's not going to be just by itself. If I sit like this, completely in a wrong position, and I'm always every day sitting like this, what happened to my body? It gets used to it. Afterwards, it will be quite difficult to bring back the right position, and I will have the pain that comes out of it, and so on. Similar to that, if we put our mind in the wrong position, it's going to be difficult after to take it back and put it in the right position. So we need to train our mind. Some time ago, I was imagining, maybe one day, looking the trends that people are trying to take away not trying, but in very context, is being taken away the spiritual aspect of meditation. I was imagining, maybe after some time, we will have like the gym for the mind. So, I go 1 hour to do mental exercise today, I'm going to exercise my mind. So actually, in what would we need to exercise our mind? To be satisfied, to be joyful, to have inner space, to be patient, to be generous, to experience reality in a coherent way for what reality is. These are some examples of where to love. Compassion. What training you do today? Today I trained compassion for 1 hour. Wonderful, no? But the fact is that our mind must be trained. Otherwise, it gets stuck in whatever way we are used to make it function. So, meditation is actually the training of the mind. So at least we need to start meditating a little bit. Learning how to meditate, making the habit of meditation. Is it a long process? Yes. It's like needing to do physical exercise when we have never done the whole life. It's difficult. No, I am a very good example of that. I really don't like making physical exercise. For me, the idea to go to the gym is like, well, what else can I do, But the idea of, okay, let's go and meditate, maybe it may be difficult, but if we start slowly, then it's possible. But we need to see up to what extent can I live without? What is the result of not training my mind positively? We end up insatisfied. We end up very easily in conflict with situations and many other things. And after many years of life, what happened often is that our mind state is the result of the way how we have used our mind up to now. So we need to start changing behavior, changing attitude, and we need to train ourselves into that because it's not going to come out of nothing. And if we do not make our own effort, it's simply not going to happen. Like, simply if we just let time pass, it will just get worse. In the sense that the more I am insatisfied, the more insatisfied I will be. The more I experience myself with lack of inner space, the less space I will have. Because the more I use my mind in one way, the more my mind gets used to that way. The more I sit in the wrong position, the more my body would be used to that position. And the more difficult it will be to sit correctly after. So, that's why what I want to say is like, really, let's take the opportunity and at least try, at least put some part, include that some part of our life. We can choose how we want, but at some point of our life, we need to include some meditation, training our mind, observing our behavior, changing our attitude. This is something which is actually very, very important, okay? So I'd like to thank very much everyone, and please make the request to try to apply it a little bit at one's own life, because that's what makes it really meaningful. Otherwise, it's just beautiful words, okay? And then we will continue next time. And I think most probably we'll continue with these teachings or in April when we have Eastern time. but most probably actually on next summer, when we have the longer course, because if we start taking in the next questions, which is from question 40 to question 58 about the correct view of reality, we need at least 10 days for that. So most probably we'll do that when we have more time, which will be next summer, okay, in July. We make our final dedications.
Gyaltsen Lama kutse rabten chi namkar tinle cholchur gepadang Losang tempe dröme sasumgi drove Michel tato ne gyorchi Nimo dele tsendele nime kunyan delekshin Nintsen takto delekpe koncho sumke jingelo koncho sumke ngodrupso koncho sumke trashisho. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. Tashidile. Oma hun temba lame sangye rinpoche, kyoba lame tamcho rinpoche, trimba lame gendu rinpoche. Kyamne kuncho sumla chepa bul. I forgot to give this to everyone, which was offered by Aldo and Cinzia, which I think have just gone. So we like to thank them. This is actually in behind. You have the original drawing, which is a drawing which was made by Trichan Rinpoche. So actually, this is auspicious because here there are the 9 stages of calm abiding, which is the 9 stages to develop perfect concentration of calm abiding, which is represented in this beautiful drawing. In another occasion, we have the opportunity to explain it step by step, okay? But if someone can help to distribute it, and there is one for everyone here, okay?